Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and in this review we're looking at the Scurfa watches Diver 1 Silicon, which is one of their new models. Scurfa watches are based in the UK, which I am particularly pleased about, by a chap who does a lot of diving, who works off in the North Sea on oil rigs. So they're definitely purpose made for diving, these watches. So first of all, just thought it worth showing you the box. It's quite a cool box. It's the type of box that scuba diving equipment comes in, but made even larger to be able to hold watches. So that's quite an unusual and unique box. So you unscrew it, got a bit of foam inside to protect the watch, and we have the watch here. Okay, let's just get rid of this. So quite a nice unusual box, which is pretty cool actually. I do enjoy it. Okay, so the price of this watch is £124, which is in fact very, very good for what you get. Let me explain. Although it is a quartz watch, which is specifically a quartz watch as well, it was designed to have a movement, which is a Swiss-made movement, a Ronda 515. It also has a very thick sapphire crystal. As you can see, it has a very nice blue anti-reflective coating as well. And the main thing that really surprises me is it has a ceramic insert on the bezel, which you simply don't see on a watch this price. So that is that's quite impressive. But also it's got a 300 meters water resistance rating. Obviously it is a full-on diver's watch. You can't deny that. And just the finish and the design is really good. So I have been really impressed by it. I've enjoyed wearing it as well. So let's talk about the specs. Obviously I've mentioned a few of them already. Sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel, 300 meters or 1,000 feet water resistance. The size is 42mm in diameter, so it's quite a standard diver's size. If I just put it on, I can show you what it looks like on my about 7¼ inch wrist. There we go. It has a lug-to-lug length of 51mm and a height of 13.5. So it is actually quite streamlined, quite thin for a diver's watch, which is good. I do like this height, mainly because it's a quartz watch. The strap is 22mm wide at the lugs, and in this case it reduces down to 20mm at the buckle. Okay, so let's have a closer look at it then. So first of all, the case. The bezel, starting at the top, has a very nice smooth mechanism. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but it sounds very smooth. It has 120 clicks, and it almost lines up perfectly. I think it's ever so slightly out, but not really enough to notice. So for a watch costing £125, it's not really an issue. The insert as well is obviously ceramic, which is incredible, to be honest. It's really nice and shiny. You can see the reflections go from the crystal all the way through to the bezel. So it really does make it actually look quite an expensive watch. So the insert, the engravings on the insert and the markings, they're all lumed as well. That's one thing actually I forgot to mention. The lume on the watch is absolutely brilliant. It's probably the strongest lume I've reviewed yet, and that's saying something, because obviously I've reviewed a couple of Seikos, so it's definitely on a par, if not slightly better than the Seikos, which is amazing. So the bezel has this nice grip, perfectly easy to use, very well machined, feels high quality as well, so can't really complain with that. Moving on to the case, it's completely brushed apart from the case back, which is polished. Case back is a screw in, and the crown is screw in as well. That obviously is quite important to keep the high water resistance rating. Quite a plain design really to the to the case. Nothing particularly out of the ordinary. The finishing is all very smart and neat. We've got quite definite edges as well. You can feel they're quite not sharp, but just very very definite edging, which is quite nice, quite tool-like as well. So it's obvious that the machining is pretty good. The crown, one thing I have noticed is that this little elastic bit, which looks great, it does have a tendency of popping off sometimes when you're changing when you're like unscrewing the crown, etc. So just be aware of that basically. But it's very nice to use. It feels good in the hand, feels solid and secure, and then you can screw it in. The thread is pretty solid as well, so you don't feel like you're going to cross thread it. The crown also has D1 very neatly and quite deeply etched in the end there. D1 for obviously Diver 1, which is this model range. And then moving on to the case back, it's polished. Let me just wipe it 'cause it's a bit grubby. There we go. Oh, get in focus. Completely polished, and we just have some various bits of information surrounding the logo in the centre. Sapphire crystal, Swiss movement, the rating, and the fact that it's 316L stainless steel. So, you know, not a particularly exciting case back, but perfectly acceptable in this instance. You know, the watch itself is very much about getting the job done. No frills. So moving on to the silicone strap, it's perfectly molded to the case. It fits very well. As you can see, there's like no gaps or anything like that. It's quite long, quite soft as well. Has this decent grip on the underside to help it grip your wrist. So if I just put it on again, we'll see. I have it on the second hole. I'm about 7¼ inches. So if you're about 7 inch, you should be able to just get it on the first hole, but you might have trouble fitting it. And of course, it's probably designed to be worn over a scuba wetsuit, to be honest, which is probably why there's so much space left on it. And it's got two keeper loops as well, which is good. Keep it in nicely. It's got an unsigned brushed stainless steel buckle. It would have been nice to have something on here like the logo etched or something, but I guess you know, with a watch costing only 125 quid for this spec, you got to, you know, let it go somewhere. So I think the strap is probably just a stock strap, to be honest. It's been you know, that's been found that will fit the case perfectly, so it's not a problem. To be honest, I do actually think it looks brilliant on a leather strap. So if I just take this off, I'll show you what it looks like with a leather strap on. So this is the head itself. There we go. So let me just get this strap is from my Christopher Ward C11, and it has these quick release pins, so it makes life really easy changing straps. I think every leather strap should have them, to be honest. Okay, so here it is on a leather strap, and immediately the whole disposition of the watch completely changes, and it looks much more casual, and I think it passes it off really well as well, which is good. So there we go. This is it on a leather strap. I think it looks great. It looks quite Seiko actually on a leather strap like this. So much more casual, and you know, you can easily wear that every day, I think. To be honest, I think it looks great on a leather strap. I much prefer it. But obviously, a leather strap isn't that good for diving, which is why it comes on the silicone strap. So anyway, I think that's everything covered. The movement obviously is the Ronda 515 Swiss-made movements. That's good. It's solid. You can't really go wrong with it, to be honest. Accurate. Oh, we didn't discuss the dial. So yes, the movement is very good, especially for a watch this price. Having a Swiss made movement, you know, is excellent, really. Let me just show you. I haven't quite tried this yet, but I've got an idea. I've got a UV lamp to charge the lume. So I'm just going to charge the lume and we'll try and see what it looks like. You can sort of see it's even charged now. Give it a quick charge. You can see it's glowing quite brightly. It's quite hard to get it, but you can see how bright it's showing even in the daylight. So let's get it even closer. There you go. There we go. That's better. So I'm going to try and do this more often on my reviews. Show a real life lume example. But the lume is absolutely fantastic because when you just come in from a sunny. From somewhere sunny, you come in and it's glowing really brightly. It lasts all day as well, all night, the lume, and just you know, some standard being in a standard room charges it up. So I believe it is Swiss lume, probably super luminova, but it wasn't exactly specified, but it is very impressive. So I do like a good impressive lume. So this is really ticked that box for me. So the dial, we have these applied hour markers filled with lume with a polished stainless steel border to them, all very well made. And then the hands, the main minute and hour hands, are designed in a way to match that. Quite thick and chunky, obviously helps with being able to read it. Talking about readability, actually the crystal is slightly domed, so obviously that stops any reflections underwater, because if you've got a flat sapphire crystal, sometimes it can act almost like a mirror and it can be quite hard to read. So with a domed crystal, that doesn't happen as much. We have the printing, the logo at the top, and the Diver 1 underneath in red, which is quite cool and nicely styled, I think. And then we have the date window at 3 with a white border and the white font there. So the second hand is quite thin with an arrow there. That's loomed. If you remember, that had a nice loom, so you can really see everything in the dark, basically. See the time in the seconds, so that's really good. The printing and the finish of the dial is pretty much flawless. You can't really complain. Printing is very fine and precise, and then we'll have a look when I get the macro lens on, but it's got quite a matte, flat texture to the dial itself. So there we go. Okay, so let me get the macro lens on, and we will have a look at it in closer detail. So okay, so this is the printing of the logo. As you can see, it's really accurate, very good. You can see the black matte texture to the dial as well. And then underneath it we have this Diver 1 printing, again quite nice and crisp. Moving around to the let's try and get a decent to the hour to the minute track, sorry, just white dashes, and then we have these very neat and tidy hour markers. Again, every one of them is very very nicely applied, very nicely manufactured as well. Again, there doesn't seem to be many rough edges on a watch that's only costing £125, so it's very impressive to see. I know some people may have preferred a black date wheel with white text to match the dial, but unfortunately you can't have everything on a watch costing this much. And then the hands go quite thick and chunky, but again Very nicely made, very neat, quite impressive really. And we get a bit of distortion on the older crystal as we go past a certain angle. Okay, so moving on to the bezel. So there's the lumed filled markers. Got some over here as well. Again, considering it's ceramic, the finish is pretty impressive. I think the numbers, the numbers do show a little bit rougher than the standard dashes, but there's no point in being too overly critical about it, as I said before. Here's the grip of the bezel, and then the brushed finishing of the case is very neat and tidy, and we have this again here, a variety of angles as well, down on the sides and sideways on the top, which is quite nice to see. And we go over here, have a look at there's the rubber band, so that can actually get, as you can see there, it can easily get picked off, so just be quite aware of that. Just open it up. So there's the thread there. So the crown is very nicely done. I'll just screw that back in. So just looking at the case back now, if I just give it a quick wipe. Excuse the scratches, it's quite easy to scratch, so just be aware of that. But the etching on the it's more engraving than etching. It's quite deep and pretty impressive actually. Usually you'd expect just a really light laser etching on something costing this much. Say for instance like a proper Chinese watch, like I don't know, Rodina for instance. But this is a really well engraved. It does give you the sense of good quality. Okay, and then finally we'll just have a look at the silicon strap. So you can see there it does pick up a fair bit of lint, but that's the same for any silicon strap really. It is soft to the touch, so it is comfortable on when you are wearing it. This is that grip underneath. And if I just show you here's the brushed stainless steel buckle. Again, pretty well machined really. Okay, so to be honest, I think it's quite hard to beat the Scurfa watches Diver One Silicon. For the price, it's tremendously well made. It's got brilliant specs. Personally, I prefer it on a leather strap. So if you were to buy it, I would say it looks slightly nicer on a leather strap, but don't let that turn you off at all. What's more to say really, apart from it's well designed, excellently well made. The lume is fantastic. Sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel, Swiss made quartz movement. I just hope that in the future, even though it's not what he particularly wants to do, I think if they brought out an automatic movement watch, even if it was an extra £100, I think it would be an absolute roaring success for a decent made automatic watch with the same specs but with an automatic movement. I think it will go down really well. So there we go. So definitely highly recommended, especially being that it's a British made watch manufacturer. And for £125 it is a very well made watch. So this was the Scurfa watches Diver One Silicon. And that's what it's all about.